We are back at Monster Transmission, and with me I have a very special guest. This is the infamous Danny, the famous. We'll start over. We are back with Monster Transmission, and I have a very special guest. This is the legend, Danny Rottino with Thor Converters. So Danny's going to talk to us today. Again, the theme all week is 4L60 family.
You're right. We're family.
Danny has a 4L65 converter built out to anything that you could throw at pretty much. And I'm gonna let Danny go through and kind of talk about the different applications this is for, all the features and benefits, what we do that maybe other companies don't. This is, to me, converters has always been like, I know it's an art, a science, a little bit of witchcraft, I don't know. No. When you're trying to figure out...
It's all of that.
When you're trying to explain stall speeds to people or trying to explain it to people, it's never fun. So there's a lot that goes into choosing a converter, and a converter is so important because it's really the feel of the transmission, right? How you want it to shift and when you want it to shift.
Exactly. Well, in the high performance end, it makes a huge difference how the converter harnesses the power of the engine.
Yeah.
You know, it's all related.
It's all related.
A lot of converter companies are out there and the converters are not efficient. So we focus on the efficiency of the converter, the durability of the converter, and in a few minutes I'll show you some of the features that we put into the builds. We build many different applications, but the 4L60, 65 family, very popular.
Oh yeah, we were just talking about that with Nate, our monster builder. That's our most popular transmission.
Very popular.
The most popular rear-wheel drive domestic transmission out there. And you talk about different applications, but just with this converter alone, you know, it could be in a car, it can be in a truck, it can be applications of high horsepower racing with a light vehicle, resto mods where they're taking this and they're putting it behind an LS that's going into a 69 Camaro. All the way up to a full-size Silverado, you know, with a 5.3 in it. And so each one of those has got to be built different, correct?
Well, we base it on building it with the engine power.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have, say, up to 500 horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
We'll most likely build a single clutch billet lid, but an aftermarket single clutch,
okay,
which has like more than twice the surface friction area of applied pressure. So when you talk about applied pressure, it's the converter. When it goes in a lockup, it drops the RPM down on the engine. But it has to be timed at the right time, especially with the computer control. Now, when we get over 500 horsepower, say 650, 7, up to 1,000 horsepower, easily handle that amount of power with a multi-clutch converter. And that's what these converters are right here.
Yeah.
These are multi-clutch converters.
And this is the example, what you have here, of basically everything in the kitchen sink that you can throw at this to handle the most horsepower you can out of a 65 converter, correct?
Yeah, and then we can go above that. This is most likely up to 1,000 horsepower.
Okay.
We can go beyond that.
We've gone beyond that.
Oh, many times in the past.
But then we're going to add some other things like a steel stator or spraglets, and it all depends on the usage.
Okay.
And if a guy's flat out drag racing with this thing and he needs it to be tuned into the way that engine produces the torque and RPM.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all fine-tuning, finding the sweet spot with the converter and the way the engine is, and harnessing all of that energy efficiently.
Yeah.
People can make a stall converter. Mostly any converter shop can get stall out of a converter, but that's not the only thing to do.
That's not the trick.
And that's the only thing people ask, oh, what's the stall? Well, the engine actually dictates the stall within a certain range.
Mm-hmm.
And the size of the converter makes a huge difference. This is basically a 265 millimeter converter that we're showing here today for this application. Now it's normally a 300 millimeter converter, but the average deal was usually the bigger the converter is, the lower the stall. But
So
that's not so true today.
Oh, really?
No, you can make a smaller converter, a 265 millimeter converter, with the blade angle, the stator combinations. You could tighten that converter up or loosen it up. So that's the beauty of building a custom converter. You know, I've been doing it for quite a few years. I used to go to drag strip all the time and find out the needs that these people want. Now, most people today want the best of both worlds. They want to drive it on the street, have the performance, and then go to the street and strip and play with it at the drag strip.
Absolutely. You want to have your cake and eat it too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cake! Yes!
This type of converter would be great for anyone probably over, what, 500 horsepower, between 500 and 1,000, and maybe they're throwing nitrous at it. Maybe they got a turbo or a twin turbo, something like that,
Right,
or a Pro Charge.
Yeah, they all make power in a different manner. Like a nitrous converter is a lot different than a blower converter or a turbo converter. You don't get the lag, you know, where the blower is instant. Nitrous is instant. It's like a karate chop. You don't drop it in the gear. You're instantly hitting that with a 200 hit of nitrous, maybe 3 stages of it. You know, it's crazy what everybody's doing today. So you have to have an aftermarket converter to handle that.
Yeah, and nowadays, like you said, it doesn't take much to get a lot of horsepower nowadays. That's why LS, you know, Coyotes, things like that, these engines are readily available, and these cars are coming off the lot now with a lot of horsepower. So not only does Danny, you know, build to accommodate, you know, anything from an old school hot rodder, but all the way up to the new school stuff that's coming out, keeps up to date with everything that's going on. Monster Transmission Showcase is brought to you by Burn Rubber Brewery's synthetic cider is one of the most sophisticated high-performance transmission fluids on the market, representing the latest innovative tech in full synthetic automatic transmission fluids. This ATF is designed to handle the abuse of high-performance transmissions from old to new. Every order from Monster Transmission is soaked, treated, and tested with Burn Rubber Brewing transmission fluid. Using our state-of-the-art dynamometer, we test each transmission with an ample amount of Burn Rubber Brewing ATF. Additionally, every transmission purchase with Monster Transmission will include the correct amount of BRB needed for your application. Burn Rubber Brewing, America's best tasting transmission fluid, not for human consumption.
I mean, I enjoy doing this. Maybe I talk a little too much sometimes, but one thing triggers another.